3 pay-per-views deep and we're still going strong. Who knew I'd ever have a Total Extreme Wrestling save run this long? And on that note, don't worry, this one's not going anywhere. We're going to keep this running for the foreseeable future. But a few people have asked if I have any plans to start doing a WWE save either instead of or alongside this one. It certainly won't be instead of this one unless something horrific happens. But I am interested in your feedback on whether you'd like to see a current WWE save running alongside this one with maybe 1 or 2 videos from each series per week. Let me know down in the comments if that's something you'd be interested in. Otherwise, we'll just keep on plugging away with WCW. Hello and welcome to part 14 of my Total Extreme Wrestling WCW series. I'm Kev, and as is now our tradition, when we come off the back of a pay-per-view, we're just going to have a little look at the financial situation of the company. As you can see, October has been another profitable month for us. We've made a profit every month apart from that first month where we spent loads of money on signing on fees. We're being a lot more careful with how we procure new talent now. So we made a $178,000 profit. We now have more money in the bank, or less overdraft, than we had when I took over. When we started with WCW, we were $1 million in debt. We're now on minus $937,426. That is progress. And also, although we're still on C-grade prestige, only ranked 8th in the world with a regional sized company, we are still operating on A-star momentum, which is awesome. And if we have a look at our show history, no, that's not what I want to do. This is what I want to do. If you have a look at our top 100 shows, obviously we haven't had 100 shows yet, but our biggest, best, most important show so far is that pay-per-view we've just had. Halloween Havoc is our best show so far. In fact, our 2 most recent pay-per-views have been our 2 biggest and best shows, and there's even been a few episodes of Nitro that were better than that first pay-per-view. So everything is moving in the right direction with WCW. So without further ado, let's get into this week's Monday Nitro. And we kick things off with a rematch from the Halloween Havoc pay-per-view. It's new women's champion Courtney Rush against the former champion Mia Yim. And it is Courtney Rush's first successful defence of the women's title. She won it last night at Halloween Havoc. She now retains it as our opening match on Nitro. Gets the show after a strong start. Both performers getting D-minuses. It moves our women's title storyline along. We get a D rating on the match. It's not a disaster, but I think it is time we freshened up the women's title picture a little bit. Mia Yim's been involved in it for the full 3 months that we've been running with WCW now. And I think it's time for her to drop back down into the pack and let someone else try and form a proper championship feud with Courtney Rush. And that's what we're going to be moving on to from here. And what do you know? If it's not Kevin Nash coming out, basically Kevin Nash seems to be running the women's division. I don't know why that's happened, but I kind of like it, so that's what he does. Kevin Nash is coming out and announcing that there's going to be new belts for the women to fight for, because we've brought in a lot of new women's wrestlers over the last couple of weeks. There's like almost 20 of them on the roster now, far too many for there to just be the one world title. So in addition to our women's world title, we're also going to introduce women's tag team titles. We've got a selection of our ladies talent out here in the ring, just to get some Kevin Nash rub. And there's going to be a tournament for our tag team titles, and the winner, the final of that tournament will be at our next pay-per-view, which will be at the end of the month, which is World War III. We get a C+ on that segment, and one of the reasons I've done this, I maybe should have said this a little bit earlier, but we'll drop it in now. The plan had been, once we could get Thunder, our second show up and running, to do a brand split. And we were going to have 2 women's titles. That's why we were bringing in so many women's wrestlers, because we were a little bit thin for women's wrestlers. The only problem with that is, although we've now had Nitro running for 3 months and are allowed to negotiate for a new TV deal for a new show, no company will negotiate with us. They say at the moment, we're too small to be able to support a second show. So even YouTube, we couldn't even put it on YouTube. So although in theory we should be able to launch Thunder now, we can't, because no one will broadcast it. So all this preparation I've been doing for a brand split and a B show and some kind of development thing, that's on the back burner for a little while. We'll keep trying after every pay-per-view, but we need to start moving up the rankings a little bit before we're going to be allowed to launch Thunder. So all these women's wrestlers I brought in with a promise of gold, that's why we're bringing in the tag titles. See, changing plans on the fly. Sometimes this is how wrestling has to be. And we move into our next segment. And our next segment is just keeping this little British wrestling TV title storyline thing going that we've had running for a little while now. Zack Sabre Jr. won the TV title at the pay-per-view from Pete Dunne. And he's now tagging with Tyler Bate against Pete Dunne and Trent Seven. Just these are the four. These are our four. This is basically our TV title division at the moment. Everyone else is kind of mooching around, either not on TV, waiting for Thunder, or higher up the card. So these are our sort of lower mid-carders who we're trying to give a bit of a push, mainly because they're British. But we had Zack Sabre Jr. defeating... in fact, no, it's Tyler Bate pinned Pete Dunne, which is significant because Tyler Bate has been looking for a win for a little while. Tyler Bate and Zack Sabre Jr. don't work well together as a team. Obviously Pete Dunne and Trent Seven do. It might be time for a Tyler Bate heel turn, put him with Dunne and Seven, and see if we can find someone else to come and join Sabre Jr. in this little TV title division. But we get D- for Sabre Jr. and Dunne, so we had the right two people in the title match at the pay-per-view, and then E+ for Bate and Seven. We get a D- on the segment. It moves our TV title storyline along a little bit. And Paul Heyman, obviously, as Pete Dunne's manager, doing some good work at ringside too. And then we move into a tag match. Our new tag team champions, the Young Bucks, taking on the tag division's whipping boys, the Underdogs, beating them in less than 3 minutes. We get a D+ on the match, and it's just a way to... I mean, I'm done with this whole Mark Sherman push that we were trying 2 months ago. This team of Dunstan and Sherman that we've put together now, they're just out there to lose to everybody. Until we can find some, until we've got Thunder up and running, they're just going to be the tag division's jobbers, and they allow the Young Bucks to just keep their momentum going, pick up another win. We get a D+. It's been a pretty slow start to Nitro this week. We need to start picking the heat up a little bit. And we start to do that with a Carlito's Cabana. If you remember, Carlito has been bulking up lately. He's now looking like a muscle man. So we're giving him a little bit of a push. The only way I know how to push Carlito, which is we're still not getting him in wrestling matches, but the Cabana's back. And this time he welcomes the Nexus. So we've got Courtney Rush, who's there, all happy. She's just won the women's title. Justin Gabriel, still not particularly happy because he keeps losing matches. And Wade Barrett and Ryback are cross because they lost to Lashley and Jay Lethal at the pay-per-view, and they want revenge. They're not happy at all. But Courtney Rush she's basically... So I guess I'm the leader of the Nexus now, am I? Because I've got this. And because we've had Barrett and Ryback feuding over leadership for a little while. It's just a silly little segment to get all these guys on TV when I don't have match plans for them this week. Because we need to start getting a few more of these people who aren't on TV regularly. Because in 4 weeks' time, we've got the World War III pay-per-view, which for any WCW old school folk, you'll know that one of the features of the World War III pay-per-view is that we have a 3-ring, 60-man battle royal as part of it. Now, we don't have 60 wrestlers at the moment, so we're trying to get everyone on screen that we can, and I've offered out an awful lot of 1-month paper appearance deals just to try and get 60 guys who can stand in the ring, and plus have a few singles matches and stuff on there as well. So we need to kind of get as many people on TV as possible in the next month to work out who's going to get a push off the back of that, because we've had some feuds that have been going on for a little while now, and having a big pay-per-view, the winner of which gets a world title shot at Starrcade, which is the following pay-per-view. It allows us to identify someone new and give them a little bit of a push. So we need to get as many people as possible on TV and start working out who's going to be the person who gets that push. Because as we saw with Bully Ray at the last sort of pay-per-view cycle, just because I pick them now doesn't mean they're going to click in the right way. And if everything had gone to plans with Bully Ray, he'd be world champion now. As it is, he's down the card, and I don't know, he might even toddle off into the distance if we can't figure out a plan for him. A match. See, this is what I'm talking about. We're just getting people on TV, seeing how they perform. MVP versus Bram. MVP has just had a really hot feud with Damien Sandow, where it was just good performance after good performance when we got them together. However, MVP and Bram, we now know, doesn't click. It was an awkward bout. MVP only getting a D+, Bram with a D. We get a D+ on the match. And we know never to put MVP and Bram together again. And also, we've learned that MVP doesn't have good matches with everybody. He needs the right guy to have a good match with. So maybe it was Damien Sandow who's the guy who deserves to emerge from that feud with more of a main event level push we'll certainly be giving him a singles match at some point to see how he gets on against someone else. Or maybe it's just that MVP and Sandow work really well together, but they can't do anything with anyone else, and that would be a bit of a disaster. We've got the Bullet Club in the ring, or as much of the Bullet Club as we can get in attendance. We do have a significant number of other Bullet Club members signed to our roster. The only thing is they work for New Japan on Monday nights and Sunday nights, so they can't come to Nitro and they can't go to pay-per-views. The plan had been to have them basically running Thunder. We were going to move Cody and the Young Bucks, and Takahashi, who apparently is in the Bullet Club, so he gets a little bit of an extra push now because I've realised he's in Bullet Club. But we were going to move the whole of Bullet Club over to Thunder and have them basically run Thunder while we have EC3 and the Dangerous Alliance as our big faction on Nitro, because it was by doing it on a different day of the week, it would allow us to have more of those Bullet Club members involved. And it was basically it. We basically have signed on pay per appearance contracts everyone apart from Kenny Omega, who won't sign with us, who won't even discuss terms, but they're never available, which is nice. But we get a B- because Cody Rhodes is just flying high at the moment. It seems to be everything Cody Rhodes touches goes well, and because we've got our tag champions in there as well, and Takahashi, we might need to come up with a plan for him. I don't know what that plan is. Full disclosure, I've never even seen him wrestle in real life. And a number one contenders match, I hear you cry. These are the two upcoming stars of our women's division. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been having lots of different women's matches to work out who should be the person who starts getting pushed towards that main event level women's push. Toni Storm and Mayu Iwatani. We actually get a D+ from Storm and a C- from Iwatani, so fairly similar performances. Toni Storm off her game. I don't know if that's because she's wrestled a lot recently or because she's splitting her time between us and NXT and various other promotions, because no one seems to be able to sign her exclusively, or whether it's just because she doesn't click with Iwatani, but we get a D+ on the match. Toni Storm wins the match, so he's officially, at the moment, our number one contender for Courtney Rush's title, but let's not think for a minute that Iwatani is out of this picture, because we're identifying stars in the women's division at the moment, and these two are definitely names on that list. And now we have a little backstage angle with another bunch of guys who aren't really, well, they're not involved in any matches tonight, but we're just going to have a little bit of a chat. Shelton Benjamin, Matt Morgan, Damien Sandow, John Morrison, they're all explaining to each other manly bravado stuff, why they're going to be the winner of the World War III Battle Royale and why they're going to go on and challenge the WCW World Heavyweight Champion at Starrcade. And they're all getting rather excited about it. We get a C+ on the segment. Our US title storyline moves on, presumably because I still got Matt Morgan in that because he was the challenger that we had at the last pay-per-view, so I might need to adjust that slightly. But a C+, we get 4 of our sort of upper mid-carders all on TV at the same time. And plus, because we're going to have a month now where tag team wrestling takes a little bit of a back seat, because the likes of Shelton Benjamin, who's been stuck in the tag division, he now gets a bit of a singles month because he's going into a big singles battle royal. It allows him to shine a little bit more without being held back by Charlie Haas, with the option of then going back and being in the tag team again when all's said and done, so we don't necessarily have to split them up, to allow Benjamin to have a little bit of time doing what he should be able to do and be a really good singles wrestler. Talking of tag teams, these ones aren't splitting up. We've got the Briscoe brothers versus the Motor City Machine Guns. These were the other two from our triple threat tag title match that we had at Halloween Havoc. The Briscoes were the champions going into the pay-per-view. The Motor City Machine Guns were the previous champions. Young Bucks obviously have the titles at the moment. We have these 3 very similar level tag teams within WCW at the moment. The Briscoes win this match, so they're moving into pole position for the next title shot, but it's not a formal number one contenders match. The Briscoes are going to be owed a rematch anyway because they were the previous champions, and the Motor City Machine Guns are always going to be there or thereabouts because they're the Motor City Machine Guns. Mark Briscoe's the weak link of the match with a D+, everyone else with a C-, and we get, I think, our first C-rated match of the evening. So as we move up the card, the matches are slowly moving in the right direction. We don't want to drop back down to C-rated shows. We need a strong ending to this episode of Nitro. And we have another one of these matches just to see how people work together, see who's who's in form, to use a football manager term, and who perhaps needs a little bit of a nudge in the right direction. So it's Adam Cole versus Loki. Cole picks up the win. He's off his game though, which is a bit of a worry, although to be fair, he's seemed off his game, but still came in with a C-, and it's enough of a C- to get us a C- overall with Loki's D involved. So I think Adam Cole off his game is still one of our better performers, which is good to see. And now we've got good old Eric Bischoff, me. He's coming out and announcing that we're going to have a #1 contenders match on next week's Nitro to find out who our #1 contender is for Ethan Carter's world title, and it's going to be the two guys from the main event at Halloween Havoc, so Rey Mysterio and Bully Ray, plus Bobby Lashley, who finally has come out victorious from his feud with the Nexus. So it's going to be Mysterio versus Lashley versus Bully Ray. The winner goes on to face EC3 at World War III, and obviously as part of that, they're not in the Battle Royal either. We get a B on the segment because these are three of our biggest stars all in the ring with one of our best talkers at the same time, which is good. And we also kick off our Rey Mysterio and Bully Ray storyline, which it should have kicked off before because I've had Bully Ray beating up Ray for the last month, and that's going to be a running theme for a little while. And our main event of the evening is a 6-man tag team match where we have our tag team that was victorious in the Nexus feud at the pay-per-view, Jay Lethal and Bobby Lashley, teaming up with Rey Mysterio against our world champion EC3 and the aforementioned Nexus, Wade Barrett and Ryback. We have great heat, we have good wrestling, and Lashley pins Barrett after a knockout punch after 15 minutes. So we get a good old wrestling match in here. Paul Heyman's doing well at ringside again. Rey Mysterio coming in with the best performance for B-, which is unusual because we've struggled to get good matches out of Rey Mysterio, but clearly he's starting to get into a little bit of form for us just as we take the world title off him and have him lose a rematch. Plans are always changing. Other than that, Lashley and EC3 both coming in with C+, Barrett with a C, and then C- for Jay Lethal and Ryback. This whole thing moves our world title storyline along, and we get a B- to close the show, which leaves our show a C+. A C+ isn't a disaster. We've increased our popularity in 28 regions, which is definitely a bonus, and we're now 3 weeks away from World War III, and we need to sign some wrestlers. So in addition to my normal ask at the end of a video where I ask you how you would have booked this differently, what feuds you would want to take forward, what you think of what I've been doing, I also would like some feedback on who you think we should go and sign. Obviously, we can't go and take someone from WWE or Ring of Honor necessarily, or New Japan. We're kind of looking for guys who are out of work, maybe a little bit older. Maybe you can lend a little bit of star power without costing us an absolute fortune. We're looking for really 1 month contracts where they're realistically going to make just a 1 appearance at the pay-per-view. So any suggestions, I'm more than happy to hear them. If you've enjoyed that video, please make sure you pop a like on there for me. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more. And thank you very much for watching.